Anishinaabemowin. This is going to be work on the Anishinaabemowin, or sometimes shortened to just Anishinaabe language. This is the Romanized version of the alphabet, and I don't much like this. It's not very well orchestrated and organized the way it is, but I'm going to just leave it as is because they actually have a much better form of writing, a syllabary, which is going to be covered in the second video, and throughout these language videos for Anishinaabemowin, I'm going to be doing everything in both the Romanized alphabet, as I have here with the kind of English lettering, and the Ojibwe syllabary, which will be covered in video 2. So anyway, this is the language of the Ojibwe and Odawa, also known as the Chippewa. There is a third group called the Anishinaabe or Potawatomi. Although they are part of the same culture group, they do have a separate language. So that's not going to be covered, but this is the what is referred to as the Western Ojibwe, or the group along the western end of Lake Superior up into Canada. The language of the Ojibwe is divided into 2 groups, and then a third group constitutes the Odawa language. So let's just go ahead and get right into this. Okay, here is your alphabet, or Ojibwe. Now, this is not kind of a perfect system. They developed a different form of writing a syllabary first, and then later adapted this Romanized alphabet version of their language for other reasons. It's kind of difficult to say exactly how many letters are in the language, because there are some sounds that kind of seem to drift in and out, depending on which of the 3 regions, Lower Ojibwe, Western Ojibwe, or Odawa, that you're using. So these are usually just represented by random letter clusters, like ch, sh, zh, among others. Furthermore, I mean, this isn't perfect. I mean, for instance, you have double I and double O being used as letters here, mainly because they both represent a lengthened regular I, and they can also represent completely different sounds altogether. For instance, regular I is I, the double I can often be pronounced as E, regular O is O, but double O can often be pronounced as U, which is usually a U in most Native American languages. So, anyway, like I said, I'm gonna do both the this version and the syllabary, but this is what we got right now. A, as in father. B, as in boy. Now we have ch as in child. D, as in dog. E, as in elephant. G, being kind of pronounced as the G at the end of thing. H, as hello. I, as in important. Double I, often pronounced E as in evil, although sometimes it is just a long I, and I will explain that later. J, as in judge. K, as in kill. M, as in moon. N, as in new. O, as in open. Double O, often oo as in soon, but sometimes can just be a held O. P, very soft as in the second P in pop. S, as in same. Sh, as in ship. T, as in town. W, as in walk. Y, as in young. Z, as in zoo. and ZH, which makes a sound similar to the J in the Japanese word jiu. And finally, the glottal stop, represented by the apostrophe, kind of represents a negative sound, kind of like the space in between Basically, you would pronounce the letters on each side of it distinctly and separately from one another, is what happens when you see a glottal stop. Now, we do have lengthened vowels in this language, which are just represented as vowels being written twice. It can happen with A, I, or O, but not with E. And there are kind of different ways that different languages represent this. This is actually the most common. You have Iroquois, which represents it as putting a colon after the vowel. Sometimes in Japanese, this is the normal form of used in Japanese, but sometimes in Japanese they'll also just write it as the vowel and then a long line, like a long dash after it. But basically all it means is that you hold that sound for about the length of 2 letters worth. So becomes I becomes I, and O becomes O. And that's pretty much all that is. There are also supposed to be nasal vowels in this language, usually written as a letter with a vowel with an N after it. It can apparently happen to all the vowels, but they're not always sounded as nasal vowels. Sometimes they're just sounded normally, just as if it's like a vowel with an N after it. Like I said, it's a really awkward system. One of the ways that you do absolutely know it's a nasal vowel is they will often use a nasal vowel at the end of a word to do what we call putting it in a diminutive state, meaning it's a smaller version of whatever it is. So if you have que, which is the word for woman, qualms, with that nasally at the end, qualms would be girl. More so than anything, if you see anything like this on the end of a word, that is supposed to be nasalized. So on becomes on, the E becomes ons, the I becomes ins, and the O becomes ohms. And the last thing I can really say on that, basically, when you see any random consonant clusters in the language, they're almost always pronounced just as they look. But again, if you see NG together immediately after a vowel, then that is assumed that that's a nasal vowel running into that G and not an NG. For instance, in this word, it's not bongi, it's bongi. Bolgi. So, yeah, anyway, that's the Anishinaabemowin alphabet. So tune in for the next video with the syllabary if you want to learn that way instead of this way. On the other hand, go ahead and skip to video 3 if you just want to carry on with this version. Miigwech ginawa gibizindamnin mi iwo. Thank you all for listening. That's it.